Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal link and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we're currently joined by none of the regulars, as literally nobody has bothered to join before the show started. So I'll stick the link out in the public chat, so if anybody does want to join from the live audience, then they can immediately. During this period where I've not been live streaming, it's been giving me quite a nice opportunity to actually debate people in some of the comment sections whilst actually watching other people's material, and debates for that matter. So, although it wasn't in that period, some of it was, some of it wasn't, but Wiggles was the most recent, so over and over again I seem to have to go through the exact same thing with him in regards to space being fake, and the only thing he seems to be able to do is strawman me about a dome, which I don't assert. I bring up the fact that space is a second law of thermodynamics violation when he asserts that he's got pictures from space. And rather than actually addressing this, he claims that he can disprove it with his religious assertion that space is a vacuum and we do have gas pressure. Ergo, space must be real. Jesus. So that's Wiggles. So the link is now public. Hopefully we'll get somebody in so I can ask a few housekeeping questions. We'll see. Look at a whole bunch of material since I have been actually able. Hey Arwin, your show finished? Jump on the panel, my friend. Get some housekeeping out of the way if I've actually got a guest to talk to. But yeah, I've stuck a whole bunch of material up since I've had the capability to do so. I republished the breaking news that Red Pill Philosophy put out. He also put a little bit of an excerpt from the debate with Mick West. Thank you very much to Red Pill Philosophy for the massive shout out. It has done my subscriber count a huge favour. So thank you very much for that. Really do appreciate it. Also, I mirrored the interview with Jeranism, which was basically on housekeeping, which I am keen to get on with. But yeah, we took an entire hour, maybe an hour and 15. Hey Arwin, good to have you.
Hello.
Did you see the interview I did with Jaren?
No, sorry, I haven't seen much.
Oh, that's good in a way, because I'm about to go through precisely what we spent an hour and 15 minutes doing, so that was going through housekeeping. And as you're here, I will proceed. So, any signs of curvature, Arwin?
Only minor signs. It's hard to tell, but now every time you try to get some consistency out of these signs, then it just doesn't turn out to be persistent. So whether there be curve or it is all perfectly flat, it's very hard to determine a specific geometrical shape by the evidence of potential curvature alone. It's just not working out. It's totally incomplete and remains highly speculative.
You did really well. I think it was yesterday or the day before, I forget which, losing track of time already. But you were pointing out with, no, I think it was yesterday, with unorthodox, his use of the presupposition in his what he claimed to be a logical conclusion for Earth curve. And it is just a presuppositional argument. It's never going to change, as much as they want to try and weasel their way around it by pushing us around in circles for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or an hour.
Right. Well, it's every time, especially the housekeeper questions, they're like speed bumps. So what they do is, as they approach, they jump over it with a little trick, and then they start talking about something else. And yeah, they do this every time. They can't touch it.
Or in the case of Wiggles, admittedly from a chat, not on the live debate, he just keeps strawmanning me. So he says, well, you're saying there's a dome. It's like, no, I'm not making any claim about a dome. If you want to make the logical conclusion by the assertion that without a container there can be no gas pressure, then you can make that logical deduction. It's a perfectly reasonable one, but I don't make that assertion. I don't need to. I've got no vaguest clue what's in the sky. Literally none. I don't go up in the sky. But the people who claim it's space, a vacuum, then I'm going to take that to pieces based on the second law of thermodynamics. I don't need to make any assertions to rip the assertion that space is a vacuum to shreds. Anyway,
Yes.
that's probably the best time to ask that question. Any evidence of gas pressure without a container?
It's, well, define container.
Something to press upon.
No, there's definitely something to press upon.
Oh, really?
Right.
Oh, sorry. I'm so used to asking these questions in a heliocentric bullshit context. That I was
Oh, wait,
assuming...
no.
I meant, based on the standard rhetoric, I should really clarify these things. Based on the current rhetoric and belief that we live on a spinning sphere flying through a vacuum of space, is there any actual evidence, given that that is the current rhetoric, that we can even have gas pressure without a container? Arwin.
Well, I think it's a paradoxical question. Because how would you ever know where a container may end? We'd have to define the container of this world, or at least get close to defining it. And I've speculated maybe for some mystical reason there is an endless way up, and it's just gonna be an ever increasing, decreasing gradient of air that's exponentially slowing down in its decrease. Who knows? But just a literal vacuum, or even near a literal vacuum, opposing to a slight area where there's going to be gas pressure, that just doesn't make any sense. It's very complicated. It's so essential to really find out the dimensions of the physical dimensions of this realm to get a more sensible insight on what's actually going on here.
Did
the gas
publish
pressure and
something
the
immediately.
gradient.
I don't know if you can grab the back chat. What about
Uh,
axial rotation? See if you can double task.
Nah, there's only one axial rotation, and that's the actual rotation of the globe of the heavens. And that's virtual. It's only apparently so. But it
Okay,
does very
Ranty.
persistently rotate on its axis, its apparent axis of the entire apparent thing, that of which we do not understand the nature, except that it's always there at the edge of vision.
I didn't think I'd have to put every disclaimer in. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, specifically.
Oh! Sorry, couldn't help.
Given that we have the assertion that we are turning on a sphere-shaped Earth, basically, aren't we? No? No
No,
evidence
no.
of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Well, let's just say it like this. There might just be, in some way that we cannot conceive or understand yet, but the standard format for it, the standard suggestion of a globe rotating around an axis, no.
Excellent.
Reality does not conform with the science to that concept. There might be some kind of movement, weirdly enough, that we can't foresee yet, but that format of movement, no. Definitely not like that.
That's scientific evidence of gravity.
I doubt that's ever gonna happen.
No, there's a claimed cause and effect relationship in play.
I know it's very seductive to believe that actually works. You just have to stop understanding how proving something scientifically actually works, and then it works out great.
Fair enough. What about evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Any evidence of that?
Well, I saw a really nice painting in an encyclopedia once.
Painting?
Yeah, they were painted. Yeah, now it's all CGI and stuff, but back then it's like hand painted.
Oh, that's cool. It means I don't even have to rephrase the question. But is there any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth that we're supposed to live on?
Well, maybe at the presupposed spherical Earth, but the actual Earth, it's going to be difficult. You have to establish an actual center first.
Well, I'll ask the last question before the distance to the sun then. So, any evidence of Earth radius? The elusive R value, are we?
Oh dear. No.
Okay. Fair enough. What about the distance to the sun?
No. There is none of that.
Oh, you welcome, sleeping warrior.
The concept of a distance to the sun is based on the presumption that the sun is actually a physical object with a physical location in relation to the Earth. And it doesn't seem to be that when you actually test it out.
Hey, sleeping warrior, can you hear us? No sound. Well, that pretty much concludes the housekeeping, Owen. Thank you very much. Hopefully Anthony will get his sound sorted in a few moments. Yeah, I've got it sorted now. It's all good. That was more of a London accent than a Northern accent. Can you do a Northern accent? I'm not very good.
Am I here?
Yes, you are.
Oh, that's weird. Do you lose your sound settings when you turn your PC off and reload it after? Wow, it updated. That'll be what it was.
I'm always double checking the sound settings to make sure they're correct. The desk it is fussy, I'm not gonna lie.
Does me head in. Seems to be changing it like every time it turns off. Particularly after an update.
There's a couple of things that I'd suggest you do. This is riveting stuff, but each time you're done, if you don't need the desk, in other words, I don't see why you would need to, though. You technically speaking could just have the desk on all the time, but you do have to either set it in, startup to load automatically, as opposed to double clicking it and loading it each time you want to hear anything. Just have it so it loads automatically, because your setup is just a stereo setup. It doesn't require the sound settings to be changed. You can just leave it on the desk the entire time.
Yeah. I was chatting with Hillel Finder. Do you remember that guy?
Wasn't he going to go and do an Isle of Man observation with you?
Not with me. He did it deliberately not with me. He deliberately didn't meet up with me, the little worm. Anyway.
Okay, I do remember him, yeah.
He's done some work on Miles Dyer Davis's video. Miles's bridge, the bridge at 280 feet or whatever it was.
The one where he just demands we accept that he's at the same height as it.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I know.
And he's modelled it out both ways, and he's obviously spent a lot of time on it because he's got all the raw data, and he was literally just presenting it to me then. So I've said I'll need a week on this. Give me a week and I'll come back to you. But basically, he's reasserting Miles's position that it's impossible on a sphere, on a flat plane, and he's given his reasons for why. And the way he's presented it is interesting. So what I'm going to do is go back to FE Core to the one or two people that were interested in it and see what they say about it, and then get back to him. Because he basically doubles down on Miles. He says that you can't have this on a flat plane; it doesn't work. So he's kind of rekindled my interest in it a little bit because he's done a bit of work on it.
Sure. I mean, we're working with slightly different parameters now. They've moved the goalposts up basically, haven't they? So whereas on the ground, we're talking about obstruction and hidden values and refracted hidden values, and essentially it's a co-opting of this limitation of an angular size at the bottom of anything that's against the deck that you're looking over, combined with obstruction from things in the near foreground. Yeah. Now, when you move the goalposts up into the clouds, literally into the mountains, then you've got a much wider angle to deal with. But then there's a whole different set of parameters that you need to start to take into consideration, which is the actual angle that the camera's pointing in the first instance, whether or not you're higher than or lower than the things that you're targeting. So have you been keeping up with Flat Earth Perth?
I've been watching his videos. Yeah, he deserves some more shout-outs. He's quite interesting. Hey, shut
Definitely.
up.
I mean, we shout him out a fair bit on here, and I'll dig out a link in a minute and see if I can get the chat to subscribe to him. But Flat Earth Perth is making really good little videos. I mean, they're all just my favourite kind of length, 2 minutes, how much time I've got to spare. And they're great. He just explains this stuff with actual examples. So he's going out, looking at a set of high-rise buildings from a hill, then moving down the hill, taking the same picture from a lower angle.
Go and play with her. Tilly, go and play with her.
That's right, Tilly. Go play with her.
Can you hear me shouting at her?
Nah.
I don't get this. Why is it? I thought I had it muted through voice meter.
Okay, all right. Okay.
What the hell going on with that? That should have been muted. It was muted through voice meter, so it didn't do that.
No. What you've done then in that case is in the Hangout, you've got the cog set to. Go to your cog. I'll just show the audience because this is so tedious otherwise. So inside the cog, you need to have your mic set up as voice meter, as opposed to set up as the actual mic itself, which for me is whatever the mic is called. But yeah, you just need to
find out what the mic's called on yours.
Voice meter aux output VB audio voice meter aux VIO is what it's called on mine.
Right, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Right, so if I mute this now.
Yeah, that works. So you've got, for each piece of... You've not come back, though. So for each piece of software, you have to set up that the mic is the desk, because then that's what gives you the ability to pass music through. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, where the Flat Earth Debate is so riveting. Link is public, by the way. I don't know if you've got the back chat open, whether or not someone will join. Make this a heated conversation. We shall see. If not, it's mics and desks.
Well, I'm opening it up right now. Aravinovich.
So, what's the score then? You're going to spend 10 days looking at it, or week looking at it with FE Core, and then come back to them about these models.
I've just got to go through it and find out where he's made his mistake.
Well, I've been off for a month. Sorry. I was just going to say I've been off for a month, so I don't know the situation in terms of have we now got an absolute rock solid confirmation of the height that he was at?
No.
You're having a laugh. You're having a laugh.
Well, that may not be true. I don't know is the answer.
Okay, fair enough. I'll reserve judgment. Well, given the scrutiny that's currently repeating over on my second channel, Nathan Oakley, subscribe today, the scrutiny given to the observation height at the Isle of Man to within a few feet, you're telling me he's not got an accurate representation of the height? If not...
Well, I don't know.
Well, if not, that's an outrage. If so, then presumably we've got some really good cracking models to go by.
Well, I think they've accepted his height and based it on what his claim is. But I don't know if he's demonstrated how accurate his height actually was.
Can you, if you could find that out, because that will basically determine whether or not I give it any interest at all.
No, but that means I then have to speak to him, doesn't it?
I don't know, but ultimately speaking, if I've forgotten his name already. Sorry.
Miles of Lite. Oh, no. Hillel Finder.
Hillel Finder. If Hillel Finder's gone to the amount of effort that you allude that he has gone to, then he will be keen to confirm that he's got an accurate representation of his viewer position, right? So he'll be keen to make sure that that's correct.
Yeah, he will be. I'll have to run it. I'll have to just double check it. In fact, what I'll do, I'll message him right now and I'll ask him, how did he validate the height that Miles was at? That is one of the most important parts of it.
I mean, obviously we could be as fussy as to say, you'll need to go to the extent that we went to and run a tape measure down it. I mean, we may or may not go to that length, given that that's the length we were forced to go to.
You just said, how do you know that Miles was actually at the height he claimed? Did that point ever get proven?
Unorthodox, if you're getting a choppy stream, just lower your resolution. If we have presentations, I want it to go out in a very high resolution. So some people's crappy internet connection, presumably yours, can't cope with that. So just lower the resolution. YouTube agents have wrenches. I gave Ranty a wrench in the backup channel.
Has everybody now been banned?
That's what I thought would happen. We'll see what happens. So I thought I've got, yeah, the no wrench rule, shout out to Validation Boy, in my main channel, and it still applies on this, you know, this limited audience channel with 100 less than 200 subscribers. He's at 240p and still got a choppy stream. Well, there's nothing wrong with the stream, Unorthodox. It's going out with 0 dropped frames with a perfect signal, so it's definitely not my end. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted by the chat. Where were we? I've completely lost track.
We were talking about Hillel Finder.
Indeed, yeah. If he can confirm the observation height, may or may not be the case that he goes to the type of extents that we were forced to go to with the height of a hill at some B's to look at the Isle of Man at 31 plus miles. But obviously we would like something, given that there was nothing previously and there was all these same assertions being made. So if there's all the same assertions being made off the back of absolutely zero evidence for the observation height, then I'm really not that interested.
Well, I think I'll have to look over it. He whizzed through it. I had it recorded, so I've got it. I can go back to it and I can see it. So he whizzed through it, showed me what he's got, and then when I'm ready to go through it and read, like, you know, pick it out point by point by point, and then we'll look at it again. Yeah.
Well, all of their maths is critical for the observation height itself, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, because it depends on the vertical parallax of the thing in the middle ground, the bridge.
Right.
Well, that's important.
So it's critical.
Yeah, it is critical, yeah.
Yeah, we say that. When it was us being put against the wall, we're like, come on, we'll just take Google Earth. Until they debunked it and said that it wasn't real. Google Earth's not accurate enough. Not our model. Not the world. That was one of the best moments, in my opinion, when they were literally shouting at us that Google Earth's broken and wrong and crap.
Yep.
Well, what we need to do is we need to think about where we were at, because there's been loads of things that's happened since like Christmas and New Year, and now I'm trying to think of what's actually happened. I can't actually think of anything, but I know there has been loads of stuff.
Oh, that's reminded me of something that I do need to do. If you've got a pause.
I've got a pause. You mean mic fill for a bit?
No. I mean, I've got something that I'll probably forget if I don't do it now. So while I was off air, Arwin repeated verbatim the question about gas pressure without a container to conspiracy cats, and you know, I've got that's being put through the chat rooms with quotations around it plenty. You know what I mean? His answer was epic because he went into about a 2-minute rant about how you can't have gas pressure without a container. It was brilliant.
Really?
Yeah, I mirrored it.
Went rant in text?
Huh?
Did he text this or was he speaking it?
You're talking about Arwin.
What? When? You mean with my Cat Earth early bird show?
Yeah, you had conspiracy cats on. He joined, and you asked the question verbatim. So I was asking it over and over again and putting a little counter on it. You know, 316, 317. How many times have I got to ask this question? 318. It was the same question. How do you have gas pressure without a container? And then you asked the question verbatim, and there was a little bit of a kerfuffle. You had to go for a drink or something. So it was like pressure builds. It was just great.
I'll have to look back sometime.
I mirrored it. If you want a familiarity with it, I immediately mirrored it. So it's on Oakley Cord channel.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I understand the value of it.
Bit quiet, Arwin. I'll turn you up a bit.
Oh, sorry. Let me get closer.
You're normally eating your mic, Arwin.
Hey, thank you. Behave.
They have little like personal space. It's like a proximity sensor. If you go within their proximity sensor of about like, I don't know, probably a foot, you get like within a foot of where they consider to be their space. It becomes a war zone. Yeah.
So I had a
A
couple
lot
of
more obvious than he actually is.
I had a couple of people in the comments that seemed to feel it necessary to challenge me to debate and then try and drag me away from a show that I've fought kicking and screaming to have on the air in the first instance. I know this happened pretty much exactly the same with Red's Rhetoric, but we're in the same position now with a couple of other tossers. So there's a guy called... I've forgotten his name. I can't even remember. Sorry, mate. You're not going to get a plug. If I can remember who the hell you were, I'd give you a plug. But there's a guy out there that's making, like... who's made, a program that apparently monitors our comments if they're deleted. So on each channel, if you remove a comment, it'll throw up on his live stream thread. And I was like, oh, wicked.
Give you a tip for that program. Don't be a dick and we won't remove comments.
I generally don't remove comments
Don't remove
anyway.
anything that's like personal or like off topic. If you're not talking about the point that the video is making and it's just some kind of slur in some way, it just gets removed. And I'm not bothered about it. So if you're going to use that against me,
I got a guy that's like spam advertising the exact same comment and link over and over again for years now on every video I put out. And I always delete it and it always keeps on coming back doing that.
Well, why don't you just leave it on? I want to plug the debate, Arwin.
No, but it's not a good link. It's some link to somebody else that I don't care about.
Oh, it's not me. Oh, okay, my bad.
No. If you want a link, then sure, I link to you. You know, you link to me. So
anyway, this wasn't the point I was making. That was just an aside. So if anybody in the chat knew who I was talking about, they'd mention him. But clearly he's a nobody, so nobody knows who I'm talking about. But that's fine. But he was in the chat saying, you know, he wanted to debate me. And I'm like, okay, join the show. I've got a bloody live show with a link daily, as it is now, out there for anybody who's watching right this second, which is going to be weird on the replay, but I don't care. You know, right this second, they can join and debate, right? This guy's no different. But then once they get into this sort of engagement with, I want to debate you, I end up having to point out that if you want to debate me, you can. I don't give two craps about debating you. However, you clearly want to debate me and you can, but yet they want to drag me off somewhere else. You're like, no, that's not why I go to the effort of having the show that I have, so that you can drag me off to non sequitur. No, that's not the purpose of putting a link out and going through all of the aggravation hoops that I have to jump through just to be able to do it, so that you can take me somewhere else. No, no. If you want to debate, you can. End of story. Beyond that, you can suck my balls. I'm not going anywhere. But if you do want to debate me, you can. Sorry, rant over.
I think the interesting thing why they all seem to want to go over to non-sec is because they claim to be neutral, but if the baller starts getting cornered, it becomes 3v1 because Deceive and what's his name? I can't remember the other guy's name. Become ballers for the moment, and it becomes 3v1. They get pummeled, and then basically it allows the baller to claim victory. Well, that's all well and good if you want it to be a one-way shit street. And it's a one-way shit street in here, really, as well, because if you do come in and start spouting bullshit nonsense without any evidence to support your position, then that bullshit nonsense will get called out, and we will get to see the evidence, or we'll get to see the lack of evidence and point out to you that you believe in a fairy tale. So it depends on which venue do you want to go in. Is it non-sec that becomes 3v1, or is it actually the minority interest that is protected, that is asking for evidence to prove your fairy tale to be true? And we all know that that fairy tale evidence doesn't actually exist. So it's like, well, I can see why people want to peel you away from here, but there's a link. It's a free link. You can come in right now. You can talk about anything you want, as long as you bring a bit of evidence. Even if it's crap evidence, just bring something with you that supports your assertion, because we're probably going to ask for it.
I liked Red Pill's term for this. He said it was intellectual welfare that we were having to be removed from the searches of YouTube. I thought that was the best comment ever. You globeheads need intellectual welfare.
wow.
I want to shout out. I want to shout out Nick's latest video. Nick from Phuket Word. He flew from Thailand over to the UK, and he used one of these theodolite apps on his phone. And obviously, it didn't demonstrate any curvature of the Earth that he flew over. It was the same position when he landed, and obviously, according to the ballers, it adjusted for gravity, and therefore the center of the Earth, and it didn't actually change its direction because it's relative to the center of the Earth. Anyway, another bullshit assertion. But anyway, the point he was making was, well, how can ballers prove that the plane flies over a certain angle, over a certain rotation amount, over a distance? And obviously, it requires a gyroscope to do it, but gyroscopes don't do it, apparently. They also correct for the gravity of the Earth, according to ballers. So it gave me an idea. The accelerometers in your mobile phone are they're actually supposed to be. Even Globebusters admit that they're quite sensitive, they're quite accurate. They will pick up stuff that basically high-end stuff does, because they all work on the same concept. Now, apparently, I don't think there's any posh factor to a particular expensive accelerometer compared to a cheap one. They all do the same thing. I'm sure somebody will call me out on that in some way, but who cares? It dawns on me that you should be able to put your mobile phone on your window ledge, open up your raw accelerometer data. You know, you can have that live stream of accelerometer data. And all you need to do is put it on your window ledge whilst it's on charge, so it doesn't go flat, and record what the your axis data records at the top of the hour. Go back to it an hour later and record your data again, and it should show that the Earth is rotating underneath the phone, because it should go round with the phone. Because if it does rotate round with the phone, then it would demonstrate it with your accelerometers. And it doesn't do it. We all know it doesn't do it. And again, they're going to say it corrects for gravity, but it's nonsense. But these fairy tale stories are just basically, they spew out their mouth like it's vomit. And we see it as vomit, but they just see it as that comforting lie. So it's like, well, all we need to do really is to demonstrate this is nonsense, is to get a small platform that rotates at 15 degrees an hour. And if the Earth is spinning, we should get a rotation of more than 15 degrees an hour, because it will be the 15 degrees an hour of the rotation platform, but also the Earth's spin. And we don't, obviously, you know what's not going to happen. We're not going to get anything other than the 15 degrees an hour. But that's impossible on a sphere that's spinning. So it's like, well, how much more evidence do they need before they accept that we're not actually moving, not spinning? And they continuously misrepresent Bob from Globebusters' words. Apparently, they continuously say that Globebusters detected 15 degrees an hour with the laser gyro, and then they ignored all their previous statements and said that it didn't show rotation. That's just a complete misrepresentation. Globebusters admit and accept that it's 15 degrees an hour. Their problem is the mechanical gyros do not do it, and because the fiber optic gyros are measuring light, they're not measuring momentum. They're measuring the thing that goes past the gyroscope that it's detecting. That's what it's measuring. So it's not measuring the Earth moving; it's measuring the light moving past the equipment. And if it was really the Earth that was moving, the mechanical gyros that do detect 15 degrees an hour of rotation, they would confirm that it was the Earth spinning, but they don't confirm it, and it's a problem. It's a big problem for you ballers, because you're all retards. You all think that we live on a spinning ball. We don't live on a spinning ball. We're not moving. We're definitely not orbiting anything. And there doesn't seem to be any observable, recordable, repeatable curvature. It's a bit of a problem if you believe we live on a spinning ball.
I watched your show on Ute's channel whilst watching him play Call of Duty.
I'm just wondering how did he do that somehow automatically, or did he actually go through and remove the silences between sentences?
No, I think he's just doing a screen capture of whatever he was listening to through the PC whilst playing a game. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, but all the sound has been chopped off.
How did he edit it?
He must have edited. He has edited it somehow, but I don't know whether he manually did it or whether he physically edited it with some other bit of software that removed all the silences.
I did notice. I did suspect that it was edited because I hadn't seen the original stream. Trying to talk Canal into joining.
I saw her dining with the enemy recently.
Oh yeah.
She was. Where did I see her? I think she was in Jeremy's chat somewhere. I saw her. Jeremy sent me to a particular reference in one of his videos, and in the chat I saw Canal, and she was talking to Jose, and she was basically saying to Jose, if you get too close to these morons, you'll end up being a dumb tard. But I think she was actually talking. I think she was talking about flat earthers at the time. So I'm wondering what her current position is, because it appears that she might be on the ball earth side. I might have got this totally wrong, but I do need to ask her. And if you're listening, if you could put an answer in text, it would be great. what is your current position? Are you on the fence? Are you 50? Are you on the flat side? Or are you on the ball side? Because it appeared, the way I read it, it appeared that you were saying that Jose got too close to us and he's getting a bit retarded as a result of it. That's what it appeared to say. I may have got that wrong.
No, we'll find out if she joins. Say she's in her pyjamas. Don't need your camera on. Just hoping to have a chat, Canal, because we've never spoken. And I've watched your stream a few times. It was very entertaining. But I hadn't actually considered what side of the fence she sits on. I thought she was a flat earther. But I automatically think everybody's a flat earther.
Well, she was at the Leamington meet with you, wasn't she? She was there that day.
Was she?
Yeah, she was, yeah.
Really?
Really? I'll be back in a sec.
My God. Have I actually met her in person? Oh, if I have, I'm really sorry. Sorry. Have we met, Canal? Yeah. Yeah, you met me. Oh dear. I'm sorry. There's me asking you on so we can have a chat for the first time. We've met in person. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was a busy day though. But yeah, she was there that day. And she didn't have any because she's changed the way she appears now. Like back then she was like, no, I wouldn't say makeup less, but she didn't have a lot of makeup. But now she tends to wear more makeup than what she did last time we saw her in person, even though you don't remember. I remember her. You will remember her. She was telling us about a titanium implant in her hip or her knee.
What? Oh, I can't remember that. I'll have to look back on the Leamington meet video.
Yeah. She was there.
I said hello to everybody on camera, so I'm sure I've caught her.
Well, hopefully she'll join and we can get the answers to the questions, because I'm dying to know where she's at.
Jose in the chat. Hey, Jose.
Pardon?
I said Jose's in the chat. Hey, Jose.
Jose. So Jose's now got a flat earth proof and a ball earth proof ×2 on his bridge. Okay. And I'm like, right, you still need to do a little bit more work, because that little bit more work is going to tell you what is the current position with regards to what is the baseline. Is the baseline flat or is the baseline round? And that's what he's working on.
Sorry, am I missing something? Has he become a dick earther?
Pardon? Are you missing something? What?
Has he become a dick earther?
I'm not really sure. I think he's not checked. I don't think he's done enough work yet to realise that. I think he realises that sometimes it's flat, sometimes it's curvy, and it appears to be sometimes both. But I don't think he's come to a conclusion yet on which is the baseline, the normal position that it deviates from. I think that's what he's working on.
I see.
Haunted House.
No dick earth. Oh, fair enough.
Haunted said, "What's up with the link? The link's not working."
Ah, maybe that's why it's so bloody quiet. Well, I put it in at the beginning and I thought it was correct. Just refresh in a couple of seconds. Try that again.
Cigar Face says, "I bet Nathan's breath smells like a Ganges river." Does your breath smell like the Ganges river, Nathan?
I don't know what the Ganges smells like.
No, neither
I would
do I.
imagine not. Salty.
It smells a bit fishy, I'd guess.
Salty.
Fishy.
I don't need a great deal of fish.
Neither do I. Unorthodox says Patricia is pretty cute. For a woman of her age, she's beautiful, I think. Very
that
good
reminds
woman
me.
for her age.
Multi Tom said that he got banned from Patricia's show, so he was watching it on the re-up I did yesterday. And I was like, oh, have you not seen this already? And he's like, no, I got banned from Patricia's show. I was like, well, what did you get banned for? He said, oh, I made a tranny joke. I was like, oh, okay. And he pulled like a embarrassed face or something with an emoji. So I said, oh, I'll ask her if she'll unban you. So I asked her, and she said, no. Said, if he wants to get unbanned, here's my email address. I think it's misssteer@hotmail.com or something like that. And you can email me, apologise, and then I'll consider it. I was like, okay, I'll let him know. So Tom, if you're out there. She said no. Not off my request, anyway. You'll have to email her and ask her.
I'd agree with that. Get on one knee, beg for forgiveness. She's merciful, though. She doesn't hold grudges.
Yeah. She's very merciful.
Is the link fixed, Nathan? Was it wrong?
I don't know. It looks exactly the same to me.
Haunted, do you want to check the link and see if it works?
You have to refresh your page. Although it hasn't changed, so it shouldn't make any difference, really. But there we go. Hopefully you'll get it to work.
Nathan, do you think that there's a place in Flat Earth, the discussion of Flat Earth, do you think there's a place for religion, or do you think it's like excluded?
Oh, I think it's so anti-religion, it's untrue.
Religion is a separate subject.
I think it's a separate subject. I don't see how any religion...
No, we're dealing with religiotards.
But it can be involved. It's just...
No, we're dealing with religiotards.
Our research is our research, and religion has another part to play, not necessarily with us, but in the world. It is what it is, it does what it does, and we learn as much as we can.
I say we are dealing with religiotards. That's the problem.
Oh, definitely.
So I had it today with, I said at the beginning of the show about Wiggles in the chat room of wherever it was. I think it was on one of the old debates. And he's essentially asserting that you can have gas pressure next to a vacuum because Earth has gas pressure and space is a vacuum. Ergo, we can have it. In other words, he literally uses his own religious belief as an assertion of fact. And you're like, this is embarrassing. These people don't even realise that they're asserting a religious belief.
Jose says that he got banned in Patricia's, so he unsubbed. He got banned on Ranty, so he unsubbed. That's the way it goes. No typing, no subscribing.
I do the same. Seems Jose and I agree on a few things. If I get banned from someone's chat room, I just unsubscribe. Stop watching.
Yeah.
That was partially the reason for having no moderations. I'm like, if I'm of the opinion that if I get banned from this chat room, I'm just not coming back, then other people will have the same frame of mind. And Jose, yeah, well, that's exactly how I feel. If you don't want to let me chat, then, you know, I won't watch your show. Simple.
Nathan, have you seen Beyond the Imaginary Curves' latest video aimed at the university students?
No. Unfortunately, I got banned on 3 separate accounts from Beyond the Imaginary Curve, and now I don't watch.
Oh.
Doesn't mean you can't highlight what it was about.
Well, he had 3 undergrads. I think they were software engineers, perhaps. I can't remember what they said they were doing. They were doing something that they call science that's not really science. And there was a guy in a blue hoodie, and he had this gurning face when he was losing his rag. Del was asking usual questions, and the guy in the blue hoodie was getting more and more irate. And it was a bit like a cross between Hugh Grant in Notting Hill. You know, when Hugh Grant holds his face in that very stern way when he's in a bad mood. It's kind of like a cross between Hugh Grant from Notting Hill with Clark Kent out of Superman when he's listening intently, and then some kind of gurning competition winner when he started speaking, because Del was asking him simple questions, and you could see that his aggression level it started off at like below 0. He was like in the negatives. He was in a good mood. Then he got to 0 and neutral, and then before long he was rising to like +5, +9, +12, +20. And by the end of it, honest to God, I think he must have walked down the road and his head must have exploded because he was so pissed off that Del was just not challenging him, but asking him, does he understand the difference between like science that we can observe, repeat, measure, detect, prove, compared to stuff that's basically bullshit. And the bit he couldn't get past his head, the bit he couldn't get his head round was that Euclidean geometry is based on planar walks, planar sails, planar drives, plane, but somehow water still conforms to the exterior of the shape being like spherical or curved. He couldn't make the crossover between the two. And Del was saying, do you not understand what's going on here? It's like we use Euclidean geometry for all walks of life, yet we're supposed to live on a sphere. That's a bit of a contradiction. How can water conform? And they weren't getting it. And it was quite funny watching the temperature rise and rise and rise, and it got to the point where now he actually resorted back to, you know, shed rage, when like somebody asks a question and he goes crazy. Well, he literally flipped the switch and he became crazy at this one guy, and he shouted back at him. And up to this point, he was being dead polite, dead friendly, approachable, affable, and everything was fine. But he spat it back at him whilst he was being aggressive, and he said, "I'm only doing that because you're doing it to me. Come on." And it was really good, actually. It's a really good video to watch this guy get triggered so badly that I'm sure his head exploded as he walked off down the road. Very good.
Hey, Travis. No sound, gringo.
Is it the real one, though?
Maybe. We'll find out shortly.
Travis.
I'm not getting sniped, so.
No, not.
Guy's mic open, so it's probably Travis.
Constance Burns. Bruns, not Burns. Bruns.
That's another person that I was talking to during the gap between these debates. Was she on your show, Arwin? I forget where I saw her.
Ranties.
Oh, is it Ranties? Yeah, and she was, you know, another one that had a similar story to Jose, saying, you know, I'm not here to do the debates, but it's like, clearly you are. you know your stuff and you're on a show. So hopefully she'll be a person in the future that does join. We shall see.
Oh, I dropped.
You dropped.
Travis.
Hey, Ranty.
You know, it's really pingy today. It seems to be loads full of delay. Ranty, are you there?
I'm here, but I'm not eating.
Okay.
Just making dinner, so I'll be able to speak in around about 20 minutes.
Okay, well, I won't bother turning you up then. Hey, Zinder.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I've heard you talking about religion real quick. Would you consider the heliocentrism as the fourth book religion after Judaism, Christianity, and Islam?
Yes.
I'd consider it to be the primary religion, actually. It'd be number one religion.
It is strange because I think, like, it's the religion with the most people involved, right? With the most people following. But is this the religion that is being practiced the least?
Yes.
Right?
Unwittingly. Hey, Haunted.
It's kind of funny.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
How you doing, Anthony?
That's
been a while.
the main problem, Zinder, is that yes, it absolutely is a religion. There is no evidence, so it is based on faith. But people don't appreciate that. They'll try and double speak their way around the fact when we point out that it has no evidence. So, you know, people will obviously fight and try and defend a religion. It's just all the more comical or depressing, depending on how you want to look at it, when the person that you're discussing with doesn't appreciate that they have a religious faith. Wiggles, I'm going to use him as an example on this show, I'm afraid. So Wiggles, you know, we've discussed this morning in the chat room. But essentially, when I point out that space is a second law of thermodynamics violation, he has only two comebacks. One, strawman me about a dome. Two, assert his religious belief as a proof. In other words, say, well, we do have gas pressure and space is a vacuum, therefore proof. Well, no, that's literally using your religious belief as an assertion of proof, which is absolutely pathetic. But there we go, that's what we have. Or you have, I don't have that, fortunately for me.
Yeah, it is funny because so few people, and the percentage, I mean, practice the heliocentric religion, right? They don't really care. Then most people don't care about the shape of the Earth. They just say, all right, it's a globe. Or most flat earthers care about the shape of the Earth, right? So it is kind of a religion that, like, the followers don't even know they are in.
Exactly.
From your point of view, of course. From my point of view, it is different. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, I think.
I completely agree. And to be honest, the apathy of the people that don't appreciate or care, as you've put it, is the biggest problem. The tertiary guy who just understands it from school and accepts it regardless, and if you try and point out that it's incorrect, will just say, what difference does it make? It's like, well, not very much to you because you've given it no consideration until now.
Yeah, I mean, from most people point of view is like, yeah, what makes it different for my life if the earth is flat or if it is a globe? So
But
right,
the difference...
they don't benefit from
Oh, you're not asking the
shape of
question.
Earth.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're not asking for a direct answer to that. Okay, yeah, exactly. Most people will take that viewpoint. Obviously, I don't agree, and I'm not going to go into why. That's not the purpose of what you're saying. But yeah, most people are completely apathetic.
Yeah, and real quick about space. I think I'm more than 99% empty space. So
99%
when
what?
I think you're more than 99% empty space too, Zimmer.
yeah,
You're that 1% that's needed to function a day-to-day life and existence, but the rest of it's just vacant.
Define empty.
Like nothing inside. Like the distance between the core of the atoms and the electrons, so on,
Interstitial.
right?
Hold on.
Interstitial spaces.
Let's just say the end of that. Sorry, Jonathan. Distance between atoms, what? Linda?
Oh, sorry, I have kind of bad audio. So shall I repeat what I said?
Yeah, you got to. I heard distance between atoms is.
Oh, all right. The distance between the core of the atom and the electrons is like really, really huge in compared to the distance of the mass itself, right? Let's say the core of the atom is like 1 centimeter, and I think the distance to the electron is more than 100 meter, right? So we all kinda are made of empty space. We just don't see it. If you go with the scientists on the atoms and so on, if you go on the particle scientists
on a physical level.
Yeah.
Well, typically, what people will say is the space you're referring to is the interstitial space between like cell structure.
Yeah.
The interstices. I don't know how to measure that. I don't think it's quantifiable.
Well, you could see it like this. Matter is energy manifest.
Yeah.
I don't think there's space between anything really. I think we're dealing with a solid object with areas of less density and areas of more density. Air is solid at 200 miles an hour. So this is one large universe with parts moving in it. It's kind of like a macrocosm thing. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm. I might have that wrong, but it seems like it all works the same way.
Yeah.
But before, you guys were talking about the relevance of the shape of the Earth, and to when people say, "What does it matter?" I ask them, well, "What does your reality matter?" Like, I think people just haven't entertained the idea. I know I didn't entertain the idea before I entertained the idea. Before it was a thing, I didn't even think that it was like a thing that I didn't even consider it. And I'm glad I did, because there's a lot. It's not this creation, this sphere, scientific sphere creation, because it is not self-evident. So if that's the case, then there's more land, and there's more opportunity, there's more places to go. I think that's enough to warrant entertaining the idea.
I find it interesting because once I heard Arwen talking about, if the planet gets destroyed, we just can leave, right? But if there is more land, more untouched land, then we could do whatever we want with the planet and just go on the other side of Antarctica and go to a new world, right? But like can you rephrase or restate your statement, Arwin? When I think I heard you saying that the reason why they hide the shape of the Earth is like, so one reason is that they just could destroy the planet. They can say, all right, we can just destroy the planet and then we can leave it and go to another one. Or did I misunderstand it?
No, that's the design of the dream to keep us busy with.
Yeah. But at the end, it is kind of the same idea, isn't it? Like, if there is more land...
If they falsely convince us we have nothing to lose, then we'll let it all just be lost. We'll give them their way, because there's always hope, this false hope. That's the function.
I got a question for you guys. How much does the entirety of Earth, or the land that we occupy, really matter if we can't experience it? Like, I know it's a concern. It's interesting to theorize on the entirety of the places we can't see physically and experience. You know, I think there's a range, maybe like 300-400 miles on a clear day. You know, if we can't experience the whole, then quantification of the whole is then questionable.
Nowhere near 300-400 miles. Do you mean in the sky? Do you mean on the ground?
Well, just in the distance. You know,
You're lucky if you got 100 miles.
So as these guys get into presuppositions of extra land and ice walls, I'm going to round out for a short break from the live broadcast. So we will continue on a new stream in a few moments, but if you are watching this on the live chat, don't go anywhere, as the stream will continue in about 5 minutes time. Massive thanks to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!